Am I excited about India? Yes. Is India gonna change anything for the next 10 years? Most likely not. I think the first set of money would not go to software. Most likely it would go to the Mintras of the world, the Nykaas of the world, where like people will start buying branded shoes and branded clothes before like people start paying for software. The goal is not to be different. The goal is to be different in a way that matters. And if it can't matter, then it doesn't work. If you're not different, then most likely it can't work.
Hi, I'm Arvind Radhakrishnan. Welcome to Upstart by WeWork Labs, an initiative by WeWork India. With Upstart, we want to give you everything you want to know about the startup ecosystem from the people you want to hear it from. Like my guest today, from his early days founding Visify to then moving on to MassBlurb and now the co-founder of InVideo, Sanket Shah has been in the entrepreneurship game for a long time, over 10 years. And his current company, InVideo, has raised over $50 million to try to transform the video creation space across the world. Their platform now has over 60,000 signups per day, making them one of the most significant players in the creator economy, both in India and globally. Super excited to get into this conversation. We're going to get into Gen AI, we're going to get into the consumer space, the creator economy, and the tie-in with India's global growth plans. And yeah, excited to have you here. Thank you so much for taking the time, Sanket.
Thanks a lot.
Welcome to Upstart.
Thanks a lot. Really looking forward to chatting up and being as candid as possible.
Absolutely, that's the aim. No filters, and yeah, a lot to get through. So let's jump into it. Awesome. So I think let's start with just setting the scene a bit, right? So you've obviously built a very powerful platform to democratize video content creation in India. For those who are uninitiated to this space and sort of new to the creator economy who are listening in, can you break down what the creator economy, the lay of the land in the creator economy, and why this sort of disruption of democratizing it was so impactful? What was it like before and then what was it like after?
I think most likely like every entrepreneur has to be naive and look for gaps in the world and say that this is just not how the world should be.
Sure.
And like everything, I think as like humans, whatever we are doing is like bridging the gap between your thought to outcome. And as you like remove the friction out of anything that moves from like a thought to an outcome, you'll most likely like see very increasing market size and like TAM and stuff like that. But that's not why you do it. The reason why you do it is because it's taking out that constraint to give you what you really want. Okay. And for me, that's video. I just felt that that's not how the world should be. It should be available to anyone to be able to create a good video. I think like most of us we have ideas, we have thoughts. They should be able to manifest them without the friction that exists in the world today. And that's really why InVideo started. I think with respect to like creator economy or just generally every business today, right? Like a video or a internet presence, which is dominated by video, gives you legitimacy, and then it gives you growth. And I think like most things that we do in life is to move from where we are to a better place. And I think like video does play an interesting role there. And that's our zone. And we just want to move the world from point A to point B. And I believe that when you take anything, of course now like, Elon Musk of the world are putting people to Mars, and you just feel, you get taken aback with your mission in life. But if I believe that if I'm able to move the world from point A to point B, with respect to video creation in one lifetime, it would be worth it. It would be fun, and then see what else you could do.
Absolutely, I think. Yeah. I mean, if you look at what YouTube has done to the world in every single space, including education, healthcare, and everything since 2006, it's been incredible. Okay, great. But other than video, what does the creator economy in India look like? What is the other spaces it's coming in? What are you sort of seeing as interesting trends coming up in it? Or what's driving video production?
I think enough people have taste, ideas,
Sure.
and creativity.
Right.
The gap is being bridged as you move from television to short form, and as you move from like larger screen to smaller screens. People who you would not see in a theater or on TV all of a sudden feel very all right on a 1-minute video. And that's how much time commitment you are able to give to certain type of creators. And there was creativity already in the world. And now there's a market to it. And people are ready to do that, which is basically empowering like a bunch of people to put themselves out there. And when you put yourself out there, you also need some gratification. Most likely gratification in this form is at the final outcome in the form of money. And when that starts happening, you'll see like people would double down on that. And that's really happening just in the world, and largely because of YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, stuff like that. So it's just like a platform availability to showcase ideas and creativity. A lot of times, when you look at a brand, you are like, hey dude, like you didn't get it. I could do a better job. I think people are now able to showcase the better job while having financial outcomes possible. And I think that's what really like driving us.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I think what you said about market size and it actually having financial outcome, I think is a key part of just validating why video is so much more than just entertainment at this point. In fact, I wanted to touch upon that. Video creators as a whole, what would you say about just the creator economy's impact on things like social mobility, on creating jobs? For example, is it possible now, in your experience, for a content creator to substitute their job? This is an ongoing debate, right, in the creator economy. Substitute their job with becoming a full-time creator, or where do you think India is in this whole piece?
So look, like, I mean, how I look at life is that everyone has superpowers.
Sure.
And when the work is at the intersection of your superpowers, work starts feeling like play. Like that's really what keeps you happy. That's what you really want to do. I think like if you look at generations away, work was work. Work was means to money and like a life. But when you can marry your natural instincts to work, it truly starts working. That's one. The second thing is like video has no barriers. Basically, video, what's video doing? Like video has a spectrum from getting better at product management because someone is creating videos on product management to like branding to like, for example, I think Lenny is a good example on YouTube who is collectively being a creator, making the world sharper in tech and telling you things that you would not know and you would learn after several iterations.
Sure.
And the spectrum starts from there all the way to like looking at a good looking person on the internet showing off clothes.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So it is largely communication, connection, sharing your ideas to the world of what you think. And I think there are enough people in the world who love doing it.
Absolutely.
So if you are in that spectrum, then there is no debate about should you quit your job and like become a full-time creator. If it's truly your calling, you will become a creator. And like anything in life, it would take guts.
Sure.
It's really like how Reid Hoffman says, like it's jumping off a cliff and assembling on a plane on your way down. It's like that. But what we have to believe is that things compound.
Sure.
And as they it's a slower journey. Things will compound, and it will come to you if you're truly good at it.
Sure.
If you're truly doing something for the right reasons.
Sure.
If you are not doing it for the right reasons, it's never going to work.
Sure.
And I think like any field in life, if you start doing something for the right reasons, it would work. And that is how the best work happens, and that is how it should happen. It should not be like very easy that everyone can quit their job. It should require like some amount of investment, which is not just money. It is thought, time, creativity, ideas, acknowledging the feedback, that feedback going back into improving it, having empathy for your users, and like your viewers are your users and they have particular needs, and meeting those needs. And if you start learning and understanding those things, I think like you could build any career. Like you could be a gamer and like do video, and you could be a product manager and do video, and then it's just endless. And I think that those bounds are getting blurred, which is great.
Yeah, amazing. I think that's also where I'm just going to shamelessly plug for you, because I think if a creator actually does all of that hard work, then that's when it becomes necessary to have a platform that makes it easier to actually assemble it together and put it out there. Which is
I mean that's the goal, right? Like to bridge that gap.
Sure.
To bridge that friction. I mean that's really the goal.
Right. You mentioned something about, I mean, it's just horizontal, right? So depending, like you said, product management, you talked about education and a variety of other fields. I wanted to get into just how cross-industry applications happen. But before that, you've actually, I think what's really interesting about NVIDIA's model is how you've broken this sort of tier 1 boundary. There are a lot of other startups, especially consumer startups, tier 1, some tier 2 as well, have found it hard to go into, right? And you actually did that by moving from B2B, if I'm right, B2B to B2C, right? So a few questions here. First, like when you did that, in the run-up to actually making this, I don't know if you call it a pivot, but this change, could you give us an idea of what the market dynamics were that made you think, okay, this is what's needed? Because it's quite risky, right? Moving from B2B to B2C.
I think when you like copy something, usually, it doesn't get you the outcomes that you desire because it misses out on all the details. And it's really breaking anything down to atoms and then trying to fit the atoms. Like, and what was happening from 2017 to 2019, which was the time when the company was B2B, was Meta was actually, then Facebook was paying a bunch of minimum guarantee to all these newsrooms to just post out video content. But the thinking was quite straightforward that, hey, if people are not going to make money, especially news, if they are not going to make money of the videos that are going created, that business is going to go away. So like I tried to balance it with a large experiment on the B2C side that worked and then flipped to B2C. Because I saw that this business it has to go away. If newsrooms are a tough business, and if they cannot run ads on the inventory, then they're going to cut you off at some point. And that is really, and you're constantly trying to listen to those signals. And you have to like think, I think like a lot of things that we do are just very unique only to our business. If I had to, I can't give that particular advice to any other company. Most likely like a bunch of things that we do cannot be replicated again by me in some other domain. I think those are the best strategies, usually. And those are the strategies that let you crack. So I think like understanding like I think what we have done is we have understood several core principles pretty well. And then we try to apply those principles to our business in a very different way, which matters to the user. The goal is not to be different. The goal is to be different in a way that matters.
Amazing.
And if it can't matter, then it doesn't work. But if you're not different, then most likely it can't work.
Sure. That makes sense. Just going back to what you said, how do you approach experimentation as a founder? How do you balance that risk? What is your framework for experimentation? I think that would be very interesting.
It has evolved over a period of time. And as you have more repetition and as you understand what works and what doesn't work, you start thinking about it more deeply. I only want to work on step changes in life. So how I think is that don't do any so basically how I think about it is don't do any small experiments that move the ball by 2%, because I believe that like if you take an example at like $50 million, a 3% optimization is still death. And how it, so I believe that like companies go through different stages. There's an explore stage, and then there's expand, and there's extract. In extract stage, and when I say experiments, like experiments as a spectrum.
Sure.
When you go to expand stages, like you do 2-3% optimization experiments, I believe that work. At this point of time where we are, I believe that 3-4% in a spectrum of experimentation, like anything that optimizes life 4%, I don't want to do. I don't want anyone to do. I want people to only think about very, very large step changes, that let's operate on an experiment that can double revenue or that can increase by 40% or 50%, nothing on the other end. So you are then like trying to take more audacious bets.
Sure.
Now, how I think about those experiments is that in an 18-month period, most likely you'll take 5 or 6 bets. That is how much you can take in most businesses. In tech, actually, it's more, right? Like 5 is a lot of bets. I think if you can get 2 or 3 right, everything else will pay for itself. But if you get 5 out of 5 right on a 3% experiment, it's death.
Sure.
So I don't like to believe, like I don't do that, and then I would only focus on building things that can make a large enough delta in the world. And anything that doesn't make a delta, I will not want to operate on. And delta comes from insights. So I will not operate in any spectrum where I don't have unique insights. So anything without an insight is a no for me.
Amazing. And then when framing it again in terms of the tier 1 plus expansion, how did you view that opportunity? Or was it something that you said it happened to work out, but were you deliberately trying to get into the, the tier 2 plus part of the country, or?
We don't do, like India is 5% of our business.
Right.
So
okay.
India is very small in terms of revenue.
Okay.
So I don't think like tier 2 is our business at all.
Okay.
So we don't focus on India at all. Okay. We only focus on 5 countries, largely. It's really like no prizes for guessing. Okay. US, UK, Canada, like.
Sure, okay. Is that because of the ad revenue, ad budgets?
It's not ad budgets or ad revenue, right? Like basically, you go out for breakfast here, you get like something for $2 and you'll be fine with breakfast. In the US, like it's $15. I mean, that's the zone we charge. So the frame of mind, I think it has completely to do with like a GDP of a nation.
Sure.
So am I excited about India? Yes. Is India gonna change anything for the next 10 years? Most likely no.
Sure.
Like, I'm sure, like, you'll see, I think the first set of money would not go to software in India. Most likely it would go to the Mintras of the world and like the Nikas of the world, where like people will start buying branded shoes and branded clothes before like people start paying for software. And that has to just directly proportional to how much money people make.
Sure. On that, actually, that was my next question. What do we need to do to sort of push that further as an ecosystem, as enablers, as WeWork Labs, as the government, any of these stakeholders in this ecosystem? What sort of infrastructure and investment needs to go in to actually, in your opinion, to actually raise this and make India a more attractive consumer market?
I mean, it's really like consumption drives economies usually, and it's like just a vicious circle. I think like India is progressing at the pace, maybe like a little slower than what it really could or what the potential it is, but our tomorrow is going to be better than yesterday, every single day, right? Like I don't think you can say that about like a lot of other countries. So our tomorrow is going to be better than yesterday. What we need is really care and genuine effort to do things right.
Sure.
And it's going to take time.
Sure.
It's going to take time. The first highest leverage thing that I would think about is like, we should stop ourselves internalize that India is not labor market only. India has talent. Right. India has people who can be groomed. I think India has absolutely great talent that probably needs refinement, that probably needs more repetition, that probably needs more exposure when they are in college, that needs more freedom. to do things. And I think that will just happen with time. Like, I don't think anyone can play a very large role. But how will a large role look like? Like, India can't wake up every time and say that AI aa gaya, we don't have AI engineers. Yeah, we don't have AI engineers because you did not, like, your labs don't have GPUs, like, never had, you always never allowed some engineer to chase their curiosity because you did not fund that. Because you said that, hey, attend this class versus like sitting in a room and doing something. There are enough people who do it.
Yeah.
You need to accelerate that. And acceleration, I think, needs culture. And you see that there are few people and then there are few colleges in India where there are few professors, handpicked, have built that culture around the students. And for some reason, like, all the best AI people would come out of those labs.
Sure.
And that's, like companies, it's just very cultural. Like, it's care, it's love for what you're trying to do.
Right.
And then like, at the right circumstances, it all connects.
Right. Absolutely. And you've sort of gone that journey because now you've built a huge team of 80 plus in India.
Yeah.
How did you go about handling the talent problem? What is your sort of read on the talent now that you moved to an AI heavy model as well?
Yeah. Like, it's funny, right? Like, every engineer at NVIDIA did AI. Like, basically everyone moved. Like, we didn't hire anyone with like AI skill set. And I believe that there's nothing like that. What is it, right? Like, my articulation in life of how anything can happen is when you are learning something, when you understand something, right? There's enough prior art. You first go study prior art. And I think that is what rigor looks like. And you study prior art very deeply. You understand the nuances of that. Then you start building. The repetitions will make you better. A good engineer is a good engineer. A bad engineer is a bad engineer. There is no connection. Like, if someone's like very interested in engineering, he's going to pick up anything.
Sure.
And that person is going to learn. Similar thing with a marketer. Like, there's nothing, I don't know why people say like, hey, there's a brand marketing person and then there's this person. Yeah, sure. Few people do get brand well.
Sure.
But you could always get to a place where you can ask the right questions. You can understand the nuance of what should be done and what shouldn't be done. And same with performance marketing and same with like SEO. It all can be learned provided you are ready to put in the time to learn prior art. And I don't think there's a problem with that. I think like team at NVIDIA has gone through like different things, right? Like, we had more people and now we have less people. People who have stayed, they really have some kind of horsepower. Okay? They are willing to do it. They are willing to raise their hand up. They are willing to deep dive. And then they are willing to challenge the status quo eventually. Because like how we come from is that, yeah, it is no ego. It is finding the right path. It is actually almost never following the first idea that comes to your mind, even if it's the right idea. You always think about like what else is on the table. A rule of thumb is like almost like for 15% of the time should be spent on thinking. If 85 is spent on execution, 100%, 95% should not be spent on execution. And everyone should be thinking. And
do you get to do that?
Yeah, that is the job. That is the highest leverage job. Like, basically, imagine like, if I could, and that's, to be honest, the most scary part, because every time you thought something to its manifestation, it's almost like a 6-month period.
Sure.
Okay? And that 6-month period are days when you say that you are about to die, and then the other day you are about to win the world, and then you are about to die again, because there's uncertainty. You have taken some bet. We don't know if that's going to matter to the user or not, and no one cares about my revenue and my brand. If it's not going to matter, it's not going to matter. I think those 6 months are the toughest and the best part.
The most rewarding.
Yeah, the very rewarding, because you always learn something and then you're always like challenging something and stuff like that. But I think that is how the team is. We always look for craft. I think NVIDIA, in the last 2 years at least, we have moved away from anyone who doesn't think about craft, who is naturally not good at anything. And then we'll also like try to coach, like not ourselves, like we have some coaching that we would do. We'll do like a bunch of things. We also make sure that people have a great life. When like most people live at Vasant Oasis. And it's sponsored by us, like largely. And there's lunch, and then there is like, we want to take things away from people's lives, so we care about them.
Sure.
They give care back. They're all well paid.
Sure.
And we focus on craft. We don't think about, we don't ever think about things like India has a cost advantage. Just because I'm in India, I can hire more engineers. Like, that's not what we say. We say that we compete with the best. We'll operate like a best. So we do that, and then you find hackers on the engineering side. You take innovate, like you do different things, like basically the product managers who have lasted in this company are actually video producers. They're like strengths and weaknesses that come along.
Right.
We can overpower the weaknesses with the strengths because they have been like video producers for 12 years of their life. Like, this guy actually knows what the product should really do more than I do, because he's the one going to color correct, and he's using the LUT, and he's understanding like what should be done. Who am I to like decide what should exactly happen? Like, no product manager should and
That's
can.
the craft.
And they are the people who have lasted.
Amazing.
And then the third thing I think is that most of our people are hands-on. So I have done everything in marketing that any of the team members doing at different points in life.
Sure.
And we actually anyone who is manager doesn't last. So you can't manage without doing it.
Sure.
So like
I do believe that.
say for our support leader, we'll have to take chats few hours a day. And if that person's not going to do well on chats, that person's not going to be allowed to run the team.
That is incredible. That is something that so many companies struggle to actually implement, of kind of staying at the execution level while pushing.
No, I've done that.
strategy.
It doesn't work.
Right.
It does. I had like someone from like, you know, like you would like think about a person from like an IIM and a
Correct.
BCG and a Bain, where customer support teams like basically reporting to them. What really happens is that if that person's not taking chats,
Yeah.
that person doesn't know what's going on. And if you don't know what's going on,
How are you going to manage them?
you don't know what to do.
Exactly. Incredible.
You don't know how much time it's going to take, and like a bunch of things don't happen
Yeah.
till you like deep dive into
Right. Sure. That's incredible. That's almost like a handbook for an early stage startup founder listening in. When you now like
Yeah, by the way, like
shifting-
no large org structures, no hiring. I would like almost say that hiring is going to solve like no problem of yours.
Oh wow, that's a
Like,
hot
I mean,
take.
I mean, at the level that you invest,
Okay.
you can't hire your way out of product market fit.
Fair. Okay.
You can do
So
minimal.
where does that come from then? What is
It
the
has to
problem?
come. It's black magic. It comes from the founder.
Okay. Okay.
Like, product market fit is black magic. No one can teach you that. Imagine, right? Like, if I could teach people PMF, hey, everyone's gonna be rich. Like, there's a reason why companies don't. All companies don't work because you can't teach PMF. And it comes from a place of insights, like deep thinking, and then ability to not have ego, keep going on, keep like, and then something works. And then when it works, like everything pays for itself.
Yeah. Incredible. That almost something similar, just correct me if I'm wrong, but something similar happened in your journey within video when you adopted AI, right? When you went heavy into AI.
Yeah.
And you saw it obviously benefited the company hugely. Could you walk us through what that was? That was sort of a tech pivot. I don't know. I mean, if that's
No,
what
no,
you
it
call
was-
it. But what made you do that? Take
Yeah.
that leap of faith? Because obviously that comes with
a lot,
changing the team.
a lot of people help, right? Like, I mean, I'm like super grateful to my co-founder Anshul. He's like an absolute first principles thinker. One thing I hate is that he could think twice the time I can think in like a day. So he's like a very, very deep thinker.
Okay.
And there was a time where we said that, hey, let's stop looking at all the metrics. There's no point. The second part is that AI is a platform shift. It's a tool, but it's a platform shift. Best products are always built at the intersection of marrying customer needs to what's possible just now. Okay? Like that just now part is very important, and it of course has to marry. AI does that. So actually, we started thinking about it in August 22, is when we said that BAU, I'm out of this company. I'm going to think what should we do. August through December, Anshul and I, with several other members of the team, did strategy.
Interesting.
January 23 is when we executed strategy. We started executing strategy. August 2023 is when we launched the product. Everyone in office or outside at different points would think that these guys have lost it. Like, you have not focused on the business for a year now. I mean, you have done something and you have done strategy and you have executed it.
Yeah.
And that, hey, that product went from 0 to 40 million bucks in revenue in 12 months. And now everyone is like कि अच्छा हाँ वो 12 महीने में मतलब बढ़िया काम किया actually. पता नहीं था मुझे भी कि मैं तो I wake up every morning to do बढ़िया काम.
Sure.
I don't want to like come to office to do bad work. No one wants to, no?
Sure.
So it was a bold bet.
Right.
Had to take it. Because that business, with 2 years of hard work, was not getting here.
Sure.
Was not going to ever get here. So you had to take a bold bet.
Sure.
And also say that यार चलेगा मैं लेता हूँ मतलब ठीक है मर जाऊंगा अभी मैं जिंदा हूँ तो आप बात कर रहे हो मर जाता तो मर जाता अभी मतलब बट द थिंग इज व्हेन यू डू इट राइट द थिंग अबाउट लाइफ इज दैट यू ओनली हैव टू बी राइट वेरी फ्यू टाइम्स and then like you know like I also thought it's not going to work and the thing is that I've realized is that if you are if there's pessimism you're most likely going to be right.
Sure.
But the time when you're not right, that is when all the money is going to be made, or revenue is going to be made, or impact going to be created. And
Interesting.
yeah, because like sure, like if you're going to invest in 10 companies, if your associate is telling you this is going to fail, that associate is right 8 out of 10 times.
Correct.
But 2 out of 10 is when like everything got built.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So if you can keep taking those shots, most likely there will be a time when you will succeed and then you will fail again. So
100%.
most likely like how I think about it is that collect all the energy during your success because you're going to need that during like the downtime.
That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah. I actually pray to God.
Yeah.
When like time is great, like I'm like, bro, please let me save the energy and the gratification collected.
Sure.
To use it, you are going to need it. There's no way any company is always going to like go up and up. In fact, if you go too up and up very, very fast and you start building like a lifestyle, it's actually quite difficult to then turn things around.
Sure. Then you're locked in.
Gallery goes away. Like gallery that's celebrating you goes away. Gallery goes away for sure. Everyone will go away. I don't know, like I think you're like very fresh with investments. But like if I'm talking to you like 7 years down the line, how much attention are you going to give to a company that's going to die? Very less. You don't have the time.
True. Absolutely. I like how was that the 6 month period that you had in mind when you answered the previous answer, with 6 months of winning and then 6 months of...
Not, I mean, the job is to constantly win.
Sure.
But you're taking bets.
Yeah.
At least at our stage. I mean, look, at an expand stage, you don't have to take bets. Then expand stage is like about milking. Little bit, right? I mean, what else are you going to build? But like if you look at Zomato also, like they are taking bets.
Right.
Like District is a bet. That bet would like, you will be able to take like one such bet a year at Zomato scale. Maybe one every 2 years.
Sure. Really interesting. So now, okay, then coming back to sort of just the core consumer space, right? In India as a whole.
Yeah.
Now, again, you mentioned how 0 to 40 million in 12 months.
Yeah.
That kind of scale is only enabled by that kind of technology being included. Now, there's a lot of debate about how India is a $1.4 billion person consumer economy.
Yeah.
But 10 to 15% is actually what spends, right? Like the group that actually spends on products and actually makes up this accessible space for the formal economy. How do you think technology can actually broaden this?
Yeah.
Where is that borderline, and how do we push that out with technology?
I think there is latent demand for everything in India.
Okay.
There is a demand for everything in India, just at the right price point.
Okay.
I think one company that gets it best is like Reliance.
Sure.
Like $29 for Jio Cinema or whatever that is. or like how Jio plans were, right? Like I think they get it the best. And there is latent demand. If you are, and then there will be like segments that have to be targeted like segments. So I think like Meesho is truly reaching the consumer that Amazon can't serve. Because Amazon stands by something, right? Like they stand by good delivery times.
Sure.
There's a part of India that doesn't want it. The part of India just wants it cheap. And that becomes a differentiator. And we are speaking about the differentiation. Like I think what Meesho is differentiated is it's cheaper.
Sure.
And like those spectrums exist. And saying that I know that this many people will put, for everyone, money and time is important. Someone is valuing time over money and someone is valuing money over time, like whatever, like you just flip it. You are going after a different spectrum and you will be, and that's the differentiation, and that's actually the insight. Like that's really the core of any insight, right? Like you know something that is underserved because you are serving a person who values money over time, but you are pitching them 2-day delivery. They just want $50 off.
Very interesting.
And you can't do both.
Sure.
Usually. You can't be, I mean, what are you going to put on your web page? Like, are you going to say that I'm fast or I'm cheap?
Right. Right. Very interesting. Okay. Sort of zooming out now and looking at the global landscape and global competitiveness in two lenses. So one from InVideo side and then one from India's. How do you, the question is, okay, so now once you go out there and you're already in 5 countries across the world.
No, we're in 190 countries.
Oh, sorry, five big ones, sorry, 190 countries. So how are you approaching being globally competitive, right? So there are these giants, there's the onset of AI, there's these giants like Adobe and Canva, there could be other startups around the world coming into the space or wanting to come in or whatever. How do you view that kind of competition in a built to be global model? And how do you think about differentiation and defensibility?
Yeah. Look, Adobe works for a few people.
Sure.
Okay. Adobe works for like 3 camera setup.
Sure.
It doesn't work for you. My job is to make it work for you. And that is how I think about it. So basically, I mean, in principle, I keep thinking about it often, and I don't think that this is Adobe's thinking, but like, Adobe is also democratizing video creation.
Right.
Okay. They are giving a power to, if there were 100 people, they are giving that power to, out of 100, 2 people will say that, hey, I can use it, I can create a video, I know I can learn. The other 98 can't. And then like with Canva, the other 18 can say that, oh yeah, I see the interface, I think I can do it. And then there are other 80 who can't, right? Like, so basically there's always going to be different gaps in the market. Someone needs higher quality, someone needs lower skills, someone needs lower time. So you think about, we constantly think that to beat Adobe, you can't play on their turf. You go like a very different way, and that different way is like really like years of mental models that come into play, and there are like opinionated takes.
Sure.
And most likely those takes won't work.
Okay.
But like those are the chances you take in life.
Okay.
And that is where the magic happens. So you take those chances, and like I believe that if I take like 4, 5, 10 such chances in life, one's gonna work, and who cares? So I think like they all leave some gaps open, and those gaps are the ones where we think we will attack, and we don't. And it's always difficult for a company to attack everything at once, because like, I mean, Adobe is fighting me with their VP, who most likely doesn't have a 8-year tenure at Adobe in one product. I mean,
sure. Okay.
Right? Like, I mean, they don't care. Their next best alternative is a job at Apple.
Right.
My next best alternative is death. I am going to fight harder.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Really interesting. Now, what about from India's perspective? Like,
Yeah.
as we're also a growing economy, we're also a growing consumer market, growing entrepreneurship space. What are our sort of strengths and areas of improvement as an ecosystem that will allow us to compete more effectively globally? You've touched upon a few of them, talent
Yeah.
and others.
I think one thing that I see across India largely is we do too much copycat.
Okay.
It's a bit much of copycat. I think it was great to build some steps to where we want to get. Don't want to like constantly be there. Let's be innovative. Let's come up with. Look, I mean, there was no chance OpenAI was getting funded in India. Okay. If you never like allow such bets, it won't happen. And that is why actually I have like deep respect for Bhavish at Ola.
Sure.
He's taking very large bets. Sure, the scooters are catching fire. That is how tech would happen. I'm not saying that that should happen, but
The road to.
it's going to happen.
Sure.
It is going to take iteration cycles. But I think like more such bets, funding them, taking them, is going to move us forward. Because otherwise, and we have to also look at world not in the moment, but like 5-8 years out, and invest today to not miss those waves.
Sure.
I think we don't. So like if I have to like just break down into themes, one theme is that we need to stop copycatting.
Sure.
We need to stop saying that, oh, like I'll compete with this company in India. Like, no, like there is so much available for you to do differently. Why do you want to copycat?
India or abroad. To actually
Yeah. I think that like all these boundaries for software at least are blurred.
Sure.
So I think that, and I think like, for example, like Myntra has done it, or Zepto did it, right? Like, I mean, bunch of companies are doing it. I think we need more of it.
Exactly.
Especially
and more
in
capital
software.
Coming in. Oh, 100%.
And more capital.
That is risk loving.
Yes. Yes.
That's her. Yeah.
Which is not thinking this happened in the US, so I will do it here, but is saying that what is different now? What has changed? And there are, to be very honest, such special investors here also. You need to expand that.
Yeah.
You need to expand. I think like I would do those things where, till today, right, like people do tell me that, hey, so you are in India, that's your advantage. I'm like, bro, like, listen, I think at my revenue scale, a Bay Area company is at least 2 times my size.
Sure.
So like, let's not give me, like, talk to me about competence. We need to fight on competence and not costs.
Sure. Oh, they mean just from the cost perspective.
Yeah, like just,
You're benefiting.
fucking fight with me on competence. No, like, I mean, it's true that we are the world has seen, like YC has funded 30 video creation companies.
Sure.
I've beaten like everyone's ass. It's true, like it's just a plain fact. It can happen from India. If there was no surge, Sequoia surge,
Sure.
no one would have funded us. Surge came at a unique time when most likely they did not have great deal flow because it was only their second cohort. Now it's very famous. I made the cut.
Sure.
But no one else would have funded us. Everyone actually told that we have what, like 150K plus paid customers, right? Everyone said that, bro, like you need to sell to enterprise. If you sold this person this, how about you sell them this and make it $150? And I'm like, sure. That's what Freshworks did.
Right.
I don't have to do that. I don't need to do that.
Sure.
And more such things need to happen. Sure. Now, we are the largest prosumer SaaS company out of India, most likely Asia, because no one funds prosumer companies.
Interesting.
Because people are like, no, Notion can't be built from India. Why? Because, sure, enough people don't have taste and insights and understanding and obsession. But there are few people who will, and they need to be funded, and they need to be guided the right way. Right. And I think that is required in that ecosystem. We need to like look past at our past scars or wins.
Sure.
There are wins and scars both. We need to look past it.
Right.
What is different now? India has great talent. India, I don't think, has a talent problem.
Amazing. That completely agree. Curious to know which of those three do you value? Taste, insights, or obsession?
All.
Which is the
Like you need to use different things at different times.
Sure. Okay.
Basically, like whenever you're doing something, right? Most likely, and I've tried to make lists of things. I think you need to like keep 15 things in mind when anything's happening.
Sure.
Like you need to there are too many things to keep in mind, and when they all check out, you usually see escape velocity.
Okay. Wow. That's why, I guess you have to balance that with actual persistence long term, right? Yeah. So earlier you mentioned how it applies across industries, right? So just tying it back to some of the big industries that are going to spur India's growth and the role of video in that. So video is horizontal, like you mentioned. Where do you see the roadmap going in terms of education, healthcare, and other industries? The roadmap of InVideo, is it going to remain horizontal? Do you see any vertical specific
No, it will remain.
Coming out?
I believe that creative tools are winner takes most market. And in winner takes most market, you don't want to verticalize too early. I think like other players would verticalize it with respect to like building stuff on your own software versus trying to verticalize it. Because like as you start building verticalization, you start building abstractions that would stop you from going horizontal. And in winner takes most markets, you will have to like be horizontal first, distribution first, before you start building vertical depths.
Sure. Okay. So do you see a play to build a big company in one of those verticals?
The core purpose why we started InVideo is to remove the barriers of video creation. That's why really the company.
Right.
I didn't start the company to make it a big company.
Sure.
Company started to remove the barriers. Now in a purist, like you can't be a purist, so you have to marry the commercial. We marry the commercial, but I can't forget that I did not start that video creation should be easy for healthcare workers. And that's just not like an audacious enough vision to wake up in the morning and do something. It's to like solve, at least like if Elon Musk is like, solving the electric car problem and putting people to space, I don't want to solve like video creation for a healthcare professional. Like I would just rather like go work at a Swiggy or a Zomato or a Book My Show.
Sure. Understood. Has to be big, huge, audacious goals, right?
Relatively, right?
Amazing.
It is always like I say that all these goals are aukat anusar. Like
Right.
Probably this is my stretch aukat.
Amazing. Okay, there's one more question. We've sourced questions from the WeWork member base in the ecosystem. But the last question is a little bit lighter. So now when you look to the future, right, it's 1 year of this kind of growth, and obviously that's going to continue with the trends that you mentioned. What are you looking forward to across from the business growth point of view, from changes that you're seeing in the market? What does the next like 5-10 years look like for InVideo and your industry?
Yeah. Look, I don't know about like industry, and I don't think too much about like, I of course think too much, but like, what is our goal? Our goal is to constantly improve the quality of the video output. I think that so far we have not scratched the surface. It is to constantly improve the quality of the video output for your user till an extent that it becomes like a high quality output.
Sure.
That's really what I'm chasing. And if that is chased, then people will be able to create videos. And the world of dragging and dropping on a timeline and doing something to audio disappears. And really that's what I'm chasing. Now, now this is like a very broad answer.
Sure.
But if I go on deeper level, okay? On deeper level, what do we think about? Like we think about that there are different type of videos. This is like a podcast-ish video.
Sure.
Then there is an ad. Then there is an invite. Then there is a highlight of a cricket match. There are like bunch of categories, right? Then they are going to cut this video into shorts.
Correct.
A bunch of categories, like 15, 20 categories, okay? we think very deeply about which categories will we go after. Because you are not going to attack, like basically I said, okay, so there's nuance, right? Like you asked, like I said, we'll go horizontal.
Sure.
Okay, but we'll go horizontal in steps. And those steps are where it's important to keep winning and getting refueled and getting more steps, right?
Sure.
So we think very deeply about where is the competition. So we'll operate in segments where Canva doesn't operate, where Adobe doesn't operate. Maybe they think the revenue is too small. And it is for them, not for me. Like what is 50 million bucks at Canva's revenue?
Sure.
Not too much, like, or Adobe's revenue. Like no one's caring. Most likely, that project is really, most likely if some product manager is proposing it, it's getting laughed upon. Those are the projects we are taking, right?
Sure.
And most disruption actually happens like that. So we are looking at competition. We are looking at like segments where we could create a delta.
Right.
Large delta, small segments. And keep layering those segment by segment by segment by segment. Do it for 8 years and all of a sudden like people are like, oh, you have all segments and it works for everything. But it is not that. It is like a ton of things, right? You're looking at competition, you're looking at delta, you are looking at what's possible right now. You are looking at, do you have GTM there? You're looking at like, does that resonate with what we stand for? You do so many things every time to layer it step by step. So we want to be horizontal, but we operate extremely sharply in segments, which is really how we think about it. And we are the best in that segment. Like anything that we do in a particular segment, we'll be the best. Otherwise, we won't do it, right? And then like simply keep going step by step. And that's really what will take 5-7 years.
Sure. Right.
While having like a great quality of the video.
Right. What do you see vernacular coming into your long-term roadmap? I know you said right now.
We have vernacular right now. We have vernacular right now.
Okay.
Vernacular did like.
But you said 5% currently in India.
It's a revenue based, right? Like I mean, I'm also talking about vernacular, like Spanish is vernacular.
Sure. Yeah.
So, yeah, but like India revenue is always going to remain small. It's just like we are not used to paying out of a personal credit card or a professional credit card very easily beyond the tech companies of the world. We are not. And I think we'll get there though. Like I think country is progressing at a breakneck speed. I think the people of this country are going to constantly keep improving because we have to get out of where we are. And I think everyone's just trying very, very hard to do that. And it just keeps improving 15-20% year on year, hopefully. Not on the like GDP level, but like just generally it feels like basically if Myntra or Razorpay does nothing, like Razorpay sleeps, I think they're going to grow 20% year on year. Or mostly also WeWork, right? You can sleep and you'll keep growing. Like, because of the how the country progresses.
Yeah, absolutely.
More knowledge
Hopefully,
workers.
I would
more
love
knowledge
if that happened.
That's happening. No, that will happen. Year on year, that will happen.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much, Sanket. This was great. We do have one more section, which is the rapid fire questions.
Yeah, sure.
But super insightful conversation so far. Thank you. So this is just stream of consciousness, whatever comes to your mind first. A startup other than InVideo that inspires you in India.
Ultrahuman.
One key piece of advice for aspiring entrepreneurs that you wish you'd known when you started InVideo.
Just because like you went to a good school or like just because you worked at a great company doesn't mean that you are going to succeed. Market doesn't care. You will have to keep going and you'll have to not have like very high expectations of yourself.
India's creative future in one word.
Booming.
One book or podcast or any other form of content that has shaped your entrepreneurship journey.
High Output Management by Andy Grove. What You Do Is Who You Are. It's by Ben Horowitz. I really like it because talks about like cultural nuances.
A tool or app that you can't live without in your daily workflow.
Unfortunately, I would put like Slack. I would actually put like Whiteboard.
Thank you so much, Sanket. This was hugely insightful.
Yeah.
I hope you had as good a time as I did.
Lovely. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Fun conversation.
Amazing.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good seeing you. I would say it is on brand with WeWork. And I think everyone knows like how WeWork as a brand is. I think it's very, very nice. It feels warm and fuzzy. It's just like it's just on brand, like generally, like it's perfect in how your spaces are.
Awesome. Why do I feel like you're censoring yourself?
No, I'm not. No, it's really like, that's one reason I've not been able to move out of WeWork. I think it's like once you enter this building, I don't like the approach road, no one likes it. Once you enter this building, it feels nice.
Yeah.
I don't know, like you enter Times Square, it doesn't feel nice.
Sure.
You enter this building, it feels nice.
Amazing.
So it's just like very, very nice.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Sanket.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you for
Thanks a
taking
lot.
the time.
Yeah, yeah.